Golf Podcast, presented by Golficity, where we bring you the tips, instruction, and support you need to get the most out of your golf game. And now your hosts, Frank and Mike.
All right, guys, how many of you out there are wasting strokes on the golf course? Raise your hand. I got mine.
I'm raising it. I'm raising it.
And that's why I can't wait for today's topic. We're going to talk about 5 ways to stop wasting strokes. I mean, we're all guilty of probably every one of these things, but if you can be a little disciplined, implement these in your game, it's going to be a way that you can quickly improve and just shave some strokes without having to change anything with your swing. You know, because this is just going to be some smart ways to play. I'm going to talk a little bit. We're going to talk about Tiger coming back. We got some other stuff going on. We want to talk about Golficity Live that we've been doing, a new segment. A lot of stuff to talk about. Before we do, a big thank you to our sponsor this week, realvision.com. Look, realvision.com, if you haven't checked this out yet, you've got to visit their website. What they do is they get the smartest investors in the world, and then they film them talking about their market insights and trade ideas. It's no wonder people have described realvision.com as TED Talks for finance. It's long form, in-depth, no holds barred. So go to realvision.com/golf. Like I said, Mike, it's like TED Talks for finance. That's realvision, realvision.com/golf. All right. So quickly about this new live segment, very similar to the podcast, but kind of a little bit more off the cuff, a little bit more, engaging with the audience, which I love because we're able to get comments and just pull them right in. And we're just kind of flowing live. If you want to check that out, the best way to do it, like Golficity on Facebook. And then on there, the best suggestion I would have for you, I'm not sure exactly where the setting is, but, and you could Google it. I mean, I think it's different whether you do it on mobile or whatever, but you turn on live notifications and it'll let you know when we're going live. That way you can jump in. If you happen to miss it, the replay will be on Facebook, also on our YouTube channel, which you can get to by going to youtube.com/Golficity. But if you want to be a part of it with the comments and engaging with the show, we take a lot of polls, things like that we do on there. Best way to do it, like the page, turn on those notifications. We just wrapped one up, Mike. We just recorded. We're trying to do those before the podcast. Plus, it's a great way to get you guys feedback about the topic we're going to be talking about before we roll into it. So I love it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then we get to kind of it's a little more visual. We can kind of show you guys some of the crazy, funny stuff that we get sent into the office, some of the equipment, some of that type of stuff. So it's a great way to get involved with that. That's a big thing. The other thing too is if you're not already following us on Instagram, do so. We're committed to doing more giveaways. That's like our number one spot for giving stuff away, as well as in the Facebook group. I know there's a lot of different areas, but we try to give back as much as possible. As of when this drops, we'll have just given away a Chippo because we're recording a couple of days ahead and we're going to be doing that contest this week. And we'll be doing those in the Facebook group too. So everywhere it's just at Golficity. That's a big thing. Mike, other thing, look, we're creeping up on the end of the year, but we got some big stuff coming in 2018.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm excited for 2018 for a lot of reasons. I mean, I can't talk enough. I can't think enough about the Pro-Am. That's on my mind. Sometimes I'll wake up at 3:00 in the morning thinking about it. You know, it's because I keep thinking about that opening tee shot, but I'll get over that because I got a notification that it's 100. Actually, I think today or yesterday, it's 100 days until the Pro-Am.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, listen, this is a great topic tonight because like I said on live, I haven't swung a club since October 20th. And here we are like a couple of days away from December 1st. So it's really been about 5 weeks. And that's really no way to do it. I should be staying loose. I should be doing something, even if it's just going in the garage and taking a couple of swings, or just going out in the backyard. I might hit the range tomorrow. It's supposed to be like 60 degrees here in the Northeast. But I don't know, Frank, what should I do to get ready for this? Should I not overthink it? Should I just go and have fun? Should I take it seriously? I don't know,
dude. It's
a once in a lifetime, right?
From what I've seen of us, being there as media for Pro-Ams,
right?
I don't see anyone taking it too seriously from a scoring standpoint. Sure, they do like that team score and stuff like that. But honestly, once in a lifetime thing, I don't care what it is. You got to just enjoy it. Just go out there, have fun. Because the more you have fun you have, the more relaxed you are. easier it's going to be just to kind of go through. And I like that they play like, it's not like a best ball. They play like, some sort of, the usual format is it's a team score, and it just keeps things moving. So if you do hit a terrible shot, it's not the end of your day.
You could just pick up and move on.
I guess so. I think it's just the low score for the hole is what they use.
Maybe it's the pride factor. Like I want to leave Bay Hill with a solid score on the scorecard, even if it's like a 95. For me, in tournament conditions at Bay Hill, to shoot a score like that, something that can make me 92, 91, I can really hang my hat on something like that would be great. I don't see it being an impressive round because, like you said, we've been there on Pro-Am days. Mm-hmm. The course is in tip-top shape. The greens are ridiculous. The rough is ridiculous. And you take a course like Bay Hill that just wraps around water, like from like 1 through 18.
I know.
It's going to be a tricky one, but hey, listen, that's something I'm really looking forward to. It's a good thing to look forward to. It's not a bad thing to look forward to. Other things in 2018, we have a lot of exciting things coming to Golficity that I don't really want to announce them yet because they're not really set in stone, but they could be really big for us, and they could be ways that we're going to bring a lot more entertaining content to all of our listeners and all of our followers. So, just keep an eye out. 2018 first quarter, it's going to be fun. Yeah,
we're coming out the gate strong. And one thing that we can say is that this year finally we're going to be making it down to the PGA show in January.
Yes.
So if anyone who's listening is going to be down there, mention it in the Facebook group. Because we're trying to start get a feel for who's going to be there. You and I, we've got a packed, tight schedule, a lot of meetings, a lot of people that we need to see. We're going to be trying to pull off some interviews. So realistically, we're only going to be at the show, like on the floor for one full day. But we are going to be there all day, and we're committing ourselves to meeting up with as many people as possible, listeners of the show. We love, meeting you guys face to face. So, let us know, post them in the Facebook group. You can also email us at podcast@golficity.com if you don't want to kind of like post in public as much, but you can let us know and we will try to find a way to meet up with you guys. Otherwise, you'll see us, walking the floor. You'll see the Golficity, the mics and our vlogging cameras. So we'll be out there. But yeah, lots of big stuff coming in 2018. Look, guys, we are committed to making Golficity like the spot for some of the best golf content you're going to find anywhere. And when we started this, 4 or 5 years ago now, we did it because we wanted to create something that, first it started with just a web page, and we just said, let's just make a web page of stuff we want to read, like stuff we want to see about golf, like different takes on things and just fun stuff and like instruction that you can understand, those types of things. And then that carried into the podcast. Like, look, we love talking golf. Let's just talk about the type of stuff we would want to listen to. So same type of thing. Like we know like that's our commitment is to continue to find stuff. If it entertains us, hopefully it'll entertain you guys as well. So that's what we're going to be keeping on working on.
Do you remember the first article that went live on Golficity in May of 2012?
Hold on, let me think about this for a second. I think it was Tee Height.
Yes.
You know what's so crazy? Like after publishing thousands of articles, I still remember like the cover image because I remember like the excitement of like that first thing.
Yeah, we overused the filter on that cover image. Remember that?
Oh my God, we crushed that filter. And here's the best part about that. I remember us being so excited. Like we launched this thing. We're so nervous. Like we put it out there. Like we're putting ourselves out there. We're writing this content, whatever. And it's like we were, this is funny too, because my wife still jokes with us every time me and you celebrate a big milestone. She's like, I remember when we like all went out to dinner and celebrated that you guys got 100, readers on your site in one day, like 100 views in one day.
I know.
And I
remember that celebration.
We were like, and I was just like so humbling because like I still remember that, and I still remember how excited we were. And now we hit these big milestones. Like the website just passed 5 million all time views.
I know. Mm-hmm.
And that's just going up at a record pace. So it's just like, it's just so awesome. It's realized like it just comes from this concept and this idea. And then like just our commitment over the years, put a lot of work into it, and this is what you get. So.
But like you always say, two guys found a clever way to talk golf, without, breaking away from the from the family gatherings and events. We found a great way every week to talk golf with the podcast, and then putting this site together and bringing in, I can't even tell you how many writers we have on staff now. It's amazing. It's great. And 2018, again, big things to come.
And the more writers, the better, because I love just getting different takes. I want to hear everybody's different idea on like how they, whether it be instruction and what they do for their game, to just opinion on the PGA Tour and things like that. But as hokey as this may sound, the other thing too is the reality is there's no way, for as much as we could try to, put out all the stuff that we love talking about, there's no way we could have done any of this without all of our podcast listeners, Golficity readers. Like, you guys are the reason that we're able to keep doing this. It's because of you guys that we're able to bring in sponsors of the show who we joke around, but it's the reality. They keep the lights on. It gets to a certain point when we can only do so much, and we need to have some sort of revenue coming in order to support this big growing website and all the other different things that we're going to be trying to do in 2018, the travel, the stuff that you're mentioning. It's all important stuff. So without you guys, couldn't do it. I try to make sure to put that back out there as much as I can, because I don't want you guys to ever think that we take that for granted. That's really important to us.
Absolutely, man.
All right, Mike, let's do a word from our sponsor, and then we're going to dive deep into each of these 5 ways that you can get out there and stop wasting strokes, something that we all do way too often. All right. Once again, we want to thank tonight's sponsor, realvision.com. Okay. You might be asking yourself, what is realvision.com? Here's how one of their subscribers summed it up. He said, watching Real Vision is the closest you can get to stalking the legends of finance. And look, why do we say stalking? Well, because realvision.com, those guys fly all over the world tracking down the big guns of finance, and they get them, I don't know how they do this, they get them to share that gold, but they get them to share their thinking about their markets, their investment strategies, their trade ideas, and they put it all out there, and then you can leverage that and you can use that in your own portfolio. And when I say the legends of finance, I mean it. Like, they hear from the smartest brains in finance speak freely about what they really think. And there's, without needing to drive ratings, or fit between commercial breaks, you're getting that raw, real, undiluted advice. So it's really great stuff, and I encourage you to check it out. So if you want to know what the cleverest people in finance are thinking right now, go to realvision.com/golf. Like I said, it's like stalking the legends of finance. That's realvision, realvision.com/golf. All right. We all know what it's like to waste a stroke. You're kicking yourself because it's as bad as like putting a poor swing on the ball feels. I think what always feels worse is when you make those mental errors.
Yes.
Because it feels like it's so much more avoidable. You feel like you just got lax and you just kind of screwed up there.
Yes. I'm thinking of 2 immediate waste shots that always happen to me and drive me insane. And the first is when I absolutely crush a drive, boom it down the center, and then I chunk that short approach shot. It's such an easy 80, 90 yards in. And then the other shot, Frank, is when I'm on the green in regulation, but I totally waste the putt and blow it 5 feet past the hole or misread it, and I end up 3-putting to that bogey. To me, those are 2 huge wastes that add up on the scorecard.
It's so true. And they're both so often these like kind of lapses in focus. We talked, what was it, 1 or 2 episodes ago about the importance of focus and how hard it is to stay focused for 4 hours. So we talked about the little strategic keys you can put on to snap in and out of focus. Things like putting something into your pre-shot routine where you kind of snap into it. And then other times you can kind of just relax, chat with the boys, whatever it may be. But yeah, like, so for instance, that long drive, sometimes we're just so hyped up on that long drive. We just kind of phone it in for the next shot, and we don't go through our normal process and give it the serious thought and execution we should. We're like, oh, simple wedge shot. You just want to put it on the green and get moving. And then you end up screwing it up, or same type of thing with the putt. Sometimes the kind of jitters can work the other way. Like if you're facing down like a nice birdie putt and you just want to walk away with your birdie. You just want to have it happen and get out of there. And you end up rushing it. You end up not giving it a full read. You just kind of rush through it because you almost want the pressure to end, if that makes sense.
Right.
You just want to be done with it. But then what happens is that frustration, that temper, you feel it just kind of bubbling up because you realize you just did something so dumb, So look, Obviously, it's easier said than done to do the things that we're talking about here. It takes time. It takes discipline. Golf is a difficult game. There's potential trouble lurking around every corner, and even the smartest, and give yourself a break. I talk about this all the time. Like, you still have to cut yourself some slack. Even the smartest, most experienced golfer is going to waste a stroke from time to time. We see it on the PGA Tour. It happens. So we're not talking about eliminating these mistakes altogether. We're talking about limiting them as much as possible by just kind of being aware of it and understanding what's going to happen. So let's just start talking about some of the most common areas where we see this happen, where strokes get wasted, and how you can kind of get around and fix that. But again, a big thing is going to be remembering it and being disciplined enough to put it into action. So the first thing is always know your number. A lot of times wasted shots just come from sheer laziness. And when we're talking about that here is when you fail to actually take the time to get an accurate distance to your target. And we've all done it. But we all know there's really no excuse. Okay. When you're playing in a friendly round, okay, I'm not talking about strict competition where things like GPS and laser rangefinders are not allowed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different story. There's a different, math to it, so to speak. You got to have to be your own caddy. You got to use your yardage book. You got to be smart. But in a way, I kind of like that because it forces you to be smart and to think about it. I think we can get lazy when we're out there and we've got every device possible and every possible way of getting our yardage. I can do it as easily as glancing down at my Apple Watch because it's linked to the different apps I use, and boom, there's my yardage. Or we've got, the laser rangefinder, but we've all done it. You're just kind of like too lazy to take it out of the bag, and maybe you see the 100-yard marker there and you do this kind of quick, like math in your head. Like, that's about like 5 paces from me and whatever it may be. You got to get yourself through that because you're going to end up kicking yourself. And and don't forget too, like there's some thought that goes into it. Those yardages, sometimes will just be a mental lapse. We forget that those yardages, at least the markers on the course are to the center of the green. Now, some greens, Mike, you and I have played some huge greens. There's a lot of variation in where they put that pin. It could be 10 yards. It could be a club difference. Mm-hmm. So it's also being smart. Where's that pin location? And trying to get a more accurate yardage there. Or if it's a yardage for a carry or a yardage to a hazard. These are other yardages that we don't always think about. You just kind of, you see that fairway bunker out there and you just kind of eyeball it and you're like, it doesn't look reachable for me. And then all of a sudden you're in a fairway bunker. So it's just being smart, taking a little bit more time. We've talked before about strategy and execution. Get your strategy nailed down, then switch over to execution mode. It's hard to execute if you don't have your strategy. So this is a big thing. Know that number. There's really no excuse not to. Get your yardage, get it right, and then go after it. Make sense?
Makes perfect sense, man.
Yeah, so that's a big one. Another one, we've done whole podcast episodes on this. Avoiding that 3-putt, from short range. Let me put that in there with a little asterisk, from short range, because sometimes we can get a little bit too hung up on trying to avoid 3-putts. And sometimes they're just very hard to avoid. If you're starting off with a 100-foot putt or something like that, there's a significant chance at a 3-putt there. Okay. Because we've talked in other episodes too. We've done there's a fine art to lagging that ball, because if I'm 100 feet out, it's a crazy long putt, but we've been on some, like I said, some huge greens. I'm happy if I get that within 5 feet. Right. And then my make percentage from 5 feet, it's not like 100%. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? So I got to cut myself a little bit of slack. It happens. You're going to have 3 putts once in a while, but the mistake you can't afford is 3-putting from short range. And when we see this happen the most is when you get too aggressive with that first putt and you knock it a few feet by the cup. Then what happens is you're so frustrated you missed that one that you fail to put a good putt on the next one and you end up missing your second putt. We've had that before. You're just steaming, right? You're out there, you could just see like a cloud over somebody's head because they're mad they made that. So what do? They try to rush through it again because you're trying to get out of the situation. It's an uncomfortable situation you don't want to be in. So you rush yourself. And what do? You end up not getting a good read on the second putt. You don't put a good stroke on it. You slap at it or do something stupid. And then all of a sudden, you could have a short putt that was for birdie and now it's a bogey. And then that just ruins pretty much everybody's day.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a short memory on the golf course, that's for sure, especially when you're putting. But you know what's great? When you see these PGA Tour pros, in fact, do that, Frank, they do blow a putt way by, but then they come back and drain that 5-footer coming back.
Yeah.
You know, granted, their making percentage from 5 feet, much better than ours, you know, like you said. But, you know, when I see that on the TV screen, I go, oh, there's no way he's 3-putting. And then he bangs it in. I'm like, okay, you know, because I know that I would have missed that. I mean, you know, it's funny because we think a little differently. And this has been a huge problem for me with as far as wasted shots. And I mentioned this at the top of our segment here. But yeah, the 3-putt is probably the biggest wasted shot on the golf course by all means. I mean, it shouldn't happen from short range.
No. Right? And look, if anybody has an excuse for it to happen, it's the pros, because they've got a heck of a lot more money riding on their putts than we ever do. True. But it just shows that they understand the game that much more, because what they'll do is you may see a moment of frustration. Usually you'll see it happen after they've holed out, they pick up the ball, and then they show that emotion. But they're so good at controlling their emotions, which is something we're going to talk about in a second too. They're so good at that after they blow that first putt by, let's say they do make a mental lapse, a mental error, which we said like in the very beginning, anybody can make. So you got to cut yourself some slack there. But let's say they do that. You don't see them walking around like we would, like, you know, hanging your head, like all mad, just walking up to it and then just taking a slap at it. No, they go back into mode. They go back into gear. They take the time to do a read, and they take the time to put a solid second putt on it. They give themselves a really good chance at making it. So that's an important one. You know, you got to make sure, first of all, don't get too aggressive from short range. You see some guys trying to like just slam dunk it, like, you know, push it through the break as hard as they can. You know, just be smart about it. Put a good read on it. And if you miss the putt, you know, just wipe it off. Don't start immediately thinking about that 3-putt, because I'm a firm believer in a lot of ways. We talk about visualization. You kind of manifest these things in your mind that you're trying to avoid, but you're thinking about, and you end up manifesting them in your game. Put that away. Take it one stroke at a time. The best thing you could do with avoiding 3-putts, just take it one stroke at a time, put a good read, and give yourself the best possible chance on every putt. Because when we don't, I mean, that's exactly what happens. We're still so frustrated and steaming from missing that first putt that the second putt, we hardly give it a chance. And then we wonder why we're walking out of there with a 3-putt. That's why. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's important. Another big one, you've heard us mention this on a lot of episodes, but staying away from the short side. And understand one thing. If you're new to the game, you may not even have heard this term that often, but this is a very huge point of emphasis at the professional level. This is something these guys are thinking about all the time. So if you haven't heard the phrase, the short side of the green, that's the side where the hole is located. So let's say you're looking at a green, you know, you see the dead center, and then let's say you see the pin is somewhere right of center. That means the right is the short side. Okay. There's a lot more green to be had on the left side, so to speak. So you want to try to avoid missing that side, that in this example, that right side, as much as possible, because when you miss on the short side, you're going to have limited room to work with on your chip shot. So let's say you do miss, and it could be either a greenside bunker there, or it could be no bunker, just, you know, chipping from like the rough. You're going to have it's going to be a lot more work executing that shot to get it close to the hole. You're going to need to get that ball to stop a lot quicker. And that's not always possible depending on your lie and the condition of the course that day. So, on your approach shots, play it safe. Put this in as part of your strategy. Aim for the wide side of the green. I think a big thing that a lot of amateur golfers do, we just get this kind of like tunnel vision towards pins, and we just fire at the pin no matter what. We don't even like take a look and a glance around. We just kind of get this very, very tunnel vision. There, it's better to assess it. Go for a bigger target. The pin is a very small target, right? If your target is the wide side of the green, you're going to give yourself a lot more margin for error, and you're going to be surprised at how many strokes you save just by steering clear of short shot side misses. And trust me, this is something that's big in the professional game. If you put this into your game and just get away from those short side misses, you will be surprised, because I would rather be further away from the pin and have a long first putt and give myself a chance to get a 2-putt and get out of there than I would be physically being closer to the pin, but being off the green on the short side. and having to chip or what's worse is trying to hit out of a bunker on the short side. That's rough.
Well, I mean, short side chips are going to result in blowing it past the hole, chunking it short where you might have to chip again because you're thinking don't hit it long, and that decelerates your club. It's just a mental thing. And then the third scenario is you put the ball close, and that third scenario is pretty much the luckiest one. So, it's for amateurs and high handicappers. So, yes, this might not. I mean, high handicappers might just be saying to this, guys, I'm lucky if I can get the ball on the green, and you want me to stay away from the short side? Come on. But I get what you're saying. I mean, that could be huge in club selection.
Right.
If you're torn between distance or club, this is a good point. Hit it a little longer. If that pin is front right, like you said, put a little longer. I have no problem with chipping it off the back of the green when I got 30 feet to let the ball run out close to the hole. Yeah. Chances are I will put the ball within 5 feet on that chip, thanks to my my great short game of chipping. I know I have confidence there. So, yeah, this is huge.
And I'll tell you what, I don't care about like how high your handicap is. Something you should learn very, very early in this game is to have a target for every shot. You may not be anywhere near that target. I mean, you'll learn that with time, but when you learn this very soon, if you don't have a target, you're not giving yourself a chance. So even if you're saying, guys, I'm just happy to get on the green, still make sure you get in that mental zone early. So you get, kind of get used to doing that early where you're picking the right target, and picking the right target is that, avoiding that short side. Now, it happens to the pros, happens to everybody. Sometimes you're not going to hit a perfect shot. You're going to end up on the short side. You can't kick yourself. What you got to do is just learn from it. And like I said, just roll with it, adapt to whatever you got to do in that situation. What I'm trying to help you avoid is the frustration that comes from making the stupid mistake where you think back on it and be like, you know what? I aimed for that pin. That was a sucker pin. That was a sucker move. I should have stayed away from that short side. That short side suckered me in. I'd rather see you avoid that than have a good plan of staying away from that and aiming for the fatter side of the green, and then maybe just hitting a ball that drifts a little bit and you end up there. That can be something that's a little bit more forgivable, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, I'm telling you, golf is a frustrating sport in a lot of ways, and it's usually because we end up being mad at ourselves for making stupid decisions more so than just putting a bad swing on the ball.
Yeah, true enough.
Speaking of which, number 4, put away your frustrations. We talked about this before. I've talked about this a few times, how wasting strokes, you can end up with, a lot of frustrations, and that can linger for the next hole and beyond. And here's the problem. That feeling of frustration very easily can add to more and more wasted strokes. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. It just kind of compounds. So if you keep your mind stuck on what happened in the past, it's a sure way to make more mistakes. You have to move on in this game, and you have to move on right away. That's one of the things that we see the best pros can do. They move on quickly. I used to use a lot more often. Now I've kind of like moved over to some other different apps, but I used to use the Nike, I think it's the 360 or whatever golf app. And one little badge that I always had the most fun with was the bounce back badge.
I remember
bounce
that.
back from bogeys, right? Because I was always proud of those, because bogeys could turn into like a bogey train really quickly. And it's because of frustration that can really start to happen. So I would always give myself kind of a mental pat on the back when I would bounce back from it, because I'm realizing that I saved myself on the scorecard. I saved myself a lot of strokes by just not letting that frustration go crazy. And look, and the best golfers are the ones that can take the game one shot at a time. I know that sounds cliche, but you know why it's cliche? Because it's true. Focusing your mind on that task at hand, each time you stand over the ball is critical if you want to play at a high level. So it's something you kind of train yourself to do as you go through it. But then anything less than that complete focus can really lead to some failures. It can lead to making mental mistakes, slip ups, things like that. So keep those frustrations in check. I think one way to do that is just being aware of it. If you start to bring your awareness to the fact that you're frustrated rather than just letting the emotions control you. We've seen this with the greatest athletes in the game, be it Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan and some of these other guys. They're unbelievably good at controlling their emotions. They may get upset for a moment. We've seen some clips where Tiger gets mad because he hits a bad shot because somebody talked in his backswing, but then, he's mad. He glances at the crowd, but then he is locked in again by the time he gets to that next ball. So it's not, we see these guys, they're able to do it, and you can do it too. It's just a matter of just being aware of it and working on it and just being disciplined. I mean, I've said that a few times, but it's true.
Yeah, it's funny because we've had the privilege of watching Mariano Rivera for a decade, the best closer in baseball. And I remember his post-game interviews. If he blew the game, which is rare, on a home run, he would always say, like I said before, you have to have a short memory. You come back the next day, close the game, and strike out the side. Yeah. Or even if someone hits a home run as the first at bat, he still came back and fired out and struck out the next three guys. And these guys are doing it day in and day out. And you and I aren't playing golf day in and day out. I mean, yeah, shot after shot after shot during a specific round is one after the next. But you're absolutely right. I mean, when you have to, I mean, it's so important. You have to really put away the frustrations, because that's just going to blow the rest of the roundup. It's happened to me a bunch of times. And when the rounds where I've had it under control, I played very well.
And baseball is such a great example, because that's the other thing that can happen when you're frustrated. You get a little timid, right? So think about that example as a pitcher. Now all of a sudden you give up a home run, and now you start to just kind of get away from your normal pitch. You're not challenging batters as much, and you're just kind of like leaking away. But what you don't realize is it's kind of just getting the ball out over the plate and just teeing it up for these guys. Same type of thing can happen in golf. We start to get frustrated, and we start to get so conservative. We're not just letting it fly, so to speak, And I'm not saying haphazardly. I'm saying we start to get to this point where we try to steer our swing so much, and we get uncomfortable out there. That's what I mean. You got to make sure you keep that confidence up. Don't start to get timid because you're frustrated and you're worried about making more mistakes. Just wipe it off. Treat the next shot, just as what it is. Each shot's its own thing. And again, I like this thing we've been talking about the last couple episodes. When you realize your capability, because you said, I've hit good shots before, so I have that capability. So the only difference between a good shot and a bad shot is kind of how I execute and where my mental game is. So more so putting that emphasis on that, the ability to do it the right way, and then just going out there and making it happen. That's important. Right. And the last point, number 5.
Yeah, I like this one.
Yeah, this one, we all have creeped into this. Look, don't be a hero. And this is something that it's actually probably the most popular way to waste a stroke. We see this often, going for the green in 2 on a par 5, or taking a swing at a short par 4 with your driver. Here's the thing. There's going to be a price to pay for those heroic decisions. A lot of times they don't work out. You end up wasting strokes. I still remember, for me, when we played TPC River Highlands, right? And they had a very drivable par 4. And I was having my best round of the season, right? And it still was probably the best round of the season. And here I am coming in. It's the final stretch. I think that was
such an easy hole too. Yeah.
Such an easy hole, but, and that's not my game. Distance is not my game. That's more your game than it is my game. And I'm just like, I guess I'm feeling it. And I just try to drive it. And
Why did you go for it?
Right. I drive it right in the woods, had to take a drop. And then I end up, I think, double bogeying that hole. And although I still shot a great round, that could have been the difference between shooting a really significantly great round. So one thing I'm going to say, and I understand this part of it. We're out there to have fun. I'm with you 100%. And it is fun sometimes to go for that par 4, in one. It's fun to go for that par 5, in 2 shots. It's fun to try to take that Dustin Johnson shortcut over the water. I totally get it, but you just have to be smart about it. That's all I'm saying. Know your game, know your capability. And if you do decide to take that risk, jump back to number 4, frustration. Don't allow yourself to get frustrated with yourself because you screwed it up.
You screwed it up. Yeah.
That's the thing. If you're going to play a lower percentage shot, and something happens, you need to take that and just be like, fine. I knew it that I was playing a lower percentage shot. It went in the water. It is what it is, and just recover and move on. So I'm not saying you should never do it. Golf, like I said, it's supposed to be fun, and hitting that amazing shot, that's part of the game. You just got to be wise about it. Go for it when you have a realistic chance of making it. And when the hazards, when there aren't any hazards there to really badly punish your mistakes. And that's the other thing, that not every 2 par 5s are the same. There's going to be some times when if you say, look, I could play my percentages. Even if I screw this shot up, there's not much there to get me in trouble. But when it's surrounded by something like OB and you're going to have a, loss of stroke and distance, be smart about it. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
You know what's funny about this one is that, so recently, and we covered this extensively, my first eagle was a heroic shot. There was a par 4.
Big
and
time
I
heroic shot, yeah.
So I'm looking at the list, and in fact, I violated 3 of the 5, because the pin was front right, so stay away from the short side. I think it was 294 to the pin. So with my driver,
in your defense, you couldn't see the pin because you had to go over all the trees, right?
it's true. I couldn't see it, but I knew that it was on the up front because I could see the flagstick through the woods. So in a way, I kind of knew. So I knew it was on the short side, and my drive would never go longer than it. So I knew if I was missing, I was going to miss short. I didn't put away my frustrations from the double bogey on the hole before, and I was a hero. So, I violated everything, and it just happened to work out where I made an eagle from a tap in on that. But that was just pure luck. I could never do that again.
But that's the thing. Like I said, that's where the game sometimes can be fun. It's just a matter of like resetting expectations. Like I've said before, if there's a lot riding on it and the round or whatever it may be, there's also a difference, like I said, between a fun round and whatever. If there's a lot riding on it and you don't want to take that chance, be smart about it. Don't take that chance. Or if you do take the chance and you end up putting it in the woods in that situation, it doesn't go on the green, you put it in the woods, wipe it off. You can't be too frustrated because you made a conscious choice to do that. So again, I can't give a blanket statement to anything because every situation is so different in this game. All I'm saying is I want people to be aware of it and be making the decisions that they want to make, being smart about it in that regard. So that's an important one. Mm-hmm. All right. If you have any of your points of your own that you want to add to this conversation, definitely encourage you to do so. Check out the Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search the Golf Podcast. We've got a great little forum there going of all of our listeners, and you and I are very active in there as well. Just reference the show, throw your points in there. We'd love to hear them. That's a great way to do it. And also, if you want to contact us directly, you can always do that by emailing us at podcast@golficity.com. All right. So that's everything we have. Again, I just want to recap and remind everyone, if you're not already following us on Instagram, make sure you do so at Golficity on Instagram, because we're hosting a lot of very Instagram specific contests there, trying to give away different things for you guys. The other thing is, like Golficity on Facebook and turn on those live notifications. We're going to be trying to do a lot more live segments, and that's a great way for you to engage with the show because we're going to be running live polls. We're going to be doing, chatting with your comments as they come up. So we're trying to get some more segments, some more visual stuff that we're trying to bring you as well. All right. And for today, everything we talked about, you can get to the show notes by going to golficity.com/episode 196. All right. We'll see everybody again next week.